Welcome
morning.
into the first ever episode of the Video Be More podcast. I am joined here with our lovely guest, Shauna Shamley. This is the second time we're recording this. The first time I did not hit record, so we had good practice.
We did.
We had about 20 minutes solid of good conversation, and it's all out the window. So that's good. So I'm going to keep peeking over like some weirdo. But anyway, super excited to have you, Shauna.
Thank you.
We have our beautiful Be More CFL thing behind us. We have this wonderful setup. We have this beautiful table built by Rep Fitness. It also can serve as box. So yeah, let's just jump into it. Shauna, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
Who are you? Where are you from? When'd you come here?
I am Shauna Shamley. I came here. This is so funny. We did this already.
I know. It's so golly.
I'm
Okay.
from Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Yeah. And
Go Packers.
And I said boo.
He
Go
did
Bears.
say boo.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to play with the cord.
Yeah, don't.
Okay, so Shauna Shamley, born in Green Bay, Wisconsin, came out here, we're guesstimating about 2000, maybe 2002-ish.
Yes.
Came out for college, and
You went to UNC.
yes,
Cool. The Bears.
the bear. Yes, at some point, right.
Yeah.
I was cheering for a bear.
You were cheering for the Bears.
Right. Well, I mean, it's UNC.
Yeah. And what made you come out here?
Change.
Okay.
School. I had some buddies who were wanting to come out, and my brother was already out here. So
Had you visited
yes,
him? Okay.
and that's what really had happened. So
Gotcha.
I came to visit for a week with one of my buddies, and I literally moved out here the next month.
Gotcha. That's
So-
super cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm not gonna say what happened with like me and my brother and his now wife, but we didn't even know about Fort Collins, and we looked at houses in Boulder, Denver, Castle Rock, kind of like all that metro area, and then we're like, well, let's check out Fort Collins. I mean, it's super north, and we drove through Fort Collins, and it's so pretty.
It is.
There's just so much green, so much trees, and yeah, the house that we looked at, the landlord at the time was mowing outside, and we talked to him and kind of told him our thing, and yeah, it worked out really well. But
Nice.
it was just so different than what we were used to. You know what I mean? And so that's what we fell in love with. And it is like you go to Fort Collins, and you're just like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
so neat.
it is. Yep.
And we were there in like August, so it was like green,
Even
green.
better. Yep.
Big
Yep.
time. Sorry, carry on.
Okay. Where was I? What
So
was, what
how'd
was the
you-
next question?
How'd you meet Jeff?
Oh yeah, Relay for Life.
Yep.
So it's a cancer walk, and it's like a 24-hour walk, and you take turns with your teammates, and you basically, somebody on your team has to be walking at all times. So we did it at Fort Collins High School. You did it around the track. We were there with school. Team from school was there, and Jeff was there working or also volunteering.
Community service.
Community service.
Perfect.
Because he was sassy.
That's the best thing.
Yeah.
That's the best thing. I've been volunteering, or I was volunteering for Realities for Children, and obviously because I had to,
Right.
but also it was just a really neat connection, and it just feels good to do, you know.
Yeah.
So I think just like anything, you can either take the good or bad from it. So yeah,
That
obviously
was perfect
that
for
was
him.
very good for him. Good for him. And then you said that was what, like 2004?
I'm assuming, yes.
Gotcha.
Jeff is better at numbers than I am.
And then
but
when did you get married?
09.
09.
Yep.
What month?
May.
So literally, as I was graduating high school,
I was getting
you
married.
were getting married. Good for you.
Nice.
But you're not that much older than me.
I'm 42.
You're 42. Yeah, you're not that much older.
I
You guys-
remember one of the first times I ever met you. Do you remember that? When there was a song playing, I don't remember what it was, but you were like, "Oh, I remember this at my
Oh yeah.
middle school dance," and I like
It
took
was-
me a second.
Because it was in '80s. I
And
say
it
this
was
a lot.
my time.
Yeah, it was whenever we had like '80s music playing on Fridays. I'd make that joke all the time.
Yes.
I'd be like, "Yeah, this was at my high school dance or my middle school dance."
Yes.
And people would look at me. They're like, "How old are you?"
I know, because I was like, "Wait a second, that
Yeah.
would put you at what?"
Literally put me at like born in '70. you
Yeah.
know? Yeah,
Right.
50 years old.
Right.
And look
Right.
as good as I do. Um, it's those Hispanic genes.
It's those Hispanic genes.
So what got you into fitness?
Well, as a child, I kind of, fitness. Okay. So, um, I struggled with my weight most of my life.
Okay.
Just had different genes, I think.
Sure.
Like my sister and my mom were always really tiny.
Mm-hmm.
They were just not saying that they weren't active. They
Yeah.
were both very active.
Yep.
And looking back on it now, it's funny because you hear that a lot. It's like, well, how do you get to be that like that? How do you get to look like this? How do you get to whatever? And it's hard work, but I in my head used to think my sister did nothing.
Yeah.
I used to think like she could just eat pizza.
Yeah.
And because I'd see her eat pizza and she just never would gain a pound.
Sure.
But I also forgot about the fact that she was a runner. She's still a runner. She's just always been active. And it was the same with my mom. And so growing up, I never really felt that need to just bounce around like they did.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really until I moved out here. We moved to Fort Collins, and in our backyard was the Maxwell Trail.
Yes.
So my brother and I started doing it, and we'd walk or bike to that trailhead pretty much every day.
Yeah.
And we would hike it. And sometimes we'd walk down to the other side, down to to the Horsetooth
To
Reservoir.
Lori or whatever.
Yeah, and then walk back up, so you'd get the extra, the two sides. And then, one time we hiked to Mashad, which was the next peak over. I think that took us about 5 hours, but it really started with hiking, being outside, walking. When I started getting in, I guess when I started always wanting to move my body, I was always overweight.
Yeah.
So it almost always started off like a program,
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so when you're 100 pounds overweight, walking's probably about the easiest you're going to get.
Sure.
It really started off with walking and then hiking and a lot of that. And I still, I still enjoy going for a walk, but I don't use it like I used to.
Sure. Well, you probably have different outlet now, you know.
Right.
And it is true. I mean, I think you and I share a lot of similar beliefs in that there's low hanging fruit and there's very simple things that you can do to get your fitness journey started, or just your health, right? You don't have to be a fitness nut, but just getting your health journey started, especially being in Colorado. Like, you add some vertical climbing to your walks, such as hiking, it'll do something for you, and it'll build muscles that you never knew you had. You get to explore, you get to see beautiful scenery as well. So, and you get fresh air.
Right.
Cool. So you started with hiking. What sort of got you into the fitness space, and I guess around what time?
So after Jeff and I had met, I don't even think we were married at the time, but we started going to Orchards, which is now Club Loveland.
Yeah.
And they had like body pump classes, which is like a cardio based with weights.
Yeah. It's kind of like a light CrossFit, would you say?
Yes,
Okay.
very much.
Okay.
You have steps, so they remember the old school step classes.
Yep.
So they have those. And you can stack them as high as you want or as low as you want because they have the different levels of ends.
Okay.
And you have a barbell and then you have your weights. And a lot of it is using, you're either bouncing around standing or you're on the step using it as like a bench press.
Oh, yeah.
Or as a bench.
Like yeah.
And then you're either pressing or tricep dips or something like that.
Sure.
But it was the cardio and the weights.
Gotcha.
That kind of added that.
Yeah.
That in. Because, you walk into a gym and some of those weights and those free weights can be pretty intimidating.
Oh, big time.
Especially when you're just starting out.
Well, and they have so many different like notches and adjustments you can do. So you're just like, I don't even know what this does. And like the picture on the thing is just, it's not helpful.
No.
So.
And you have meaty people and you feel judged.
Yep.
So so the classes, it was nice to just have that class, because then it taught me some things, how to use, the weights, and, you know, that type of stuff.
Sure.
Where I needed to start
Yeah.
even.
Well, and that's what I was gonna say too. It's easy for us to joke on other methods, but it's a great way to enter into the fitness scene.
Yep.
I think group classes. I think any group class, it doesn't matter what you do, I think is a great way to enter into the fitness scene. It just depends on the delivery from obviously the coach, the programming, and how it sort of works for you.
Right. Yep.
And then you said you did some spin classes too, correct?
Oh yeah, I loved
Yeah.
spin.
Yeah.
Spinning was huge there. Jeff and I actually rode the Carter Lake route on our bikes.
Okay.
And I had road bikers laughing at me because at the time I had been spinning so much. I literally rode my cruiser up that bike, up that hill.
And you did good.
I made
Right?
it
You
up to the
crushed it
top, dude. I
in
totally
a
crushed
cruiser.
it. But I think they were laughing because they were like, wow, that you could have made this so much more simpler.
Yeah.
But I wasn't about to go buy a $500 bike or however much they
Or
are.
a $5,000 bike.
Right,
Yeah.
just to get up a hill.
Just to get up a hill, you're like, you dummies. I drive in the truck and then I go down the hill.
Yeah.
Cool. And
But-
then you, after that, when did you start getting into sort of like strength training, kind of more? I know you did some powerlifting, strongman, bodybuilding stuff. When did you sort of switch from the cardio scene to more of the strength?
When Orchards closed. So when Orchards closed, a lot of the trainers went separate ways. A lot of people went to Golds. I think technically they sold the names to Golds.
Yeah.
I don't know how that all works, but I think most of that gym went to Golds. But there was a little guy, just a little shop, and he opened it over by Grimm Brothers, and it was tiny. It was small, but he taught me a lot. So he taught me to feel comfortable with those machines. He had machines and free weights. So it was learning on my terms. Does that make sense? You know, like, so instead of walking into those big gyms that make you feel intimidated, it was really easy.
Yep.
I just went in, I met him, it was a personal training I did 3 times a week. It was right across the street from my house. So I'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I'd run a 5K, and then I'd run over there.
Dang.
And then I would do that. And then I'd come home and everybody'd start waking up in my house. At the time, it was just Jeff and Riker.
Yeah.
So Riker, right when Orchards closed, I was when Riker was born. So
Okay.
10, 11 years ago.
Gotcha. And just to think, it all started just from you hiking.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I always like about people who get started in fitness is how did they start? For me at least, like mine was athletics. So like I had a reason to get into the gym, and like for me, CrossFitting was intimidating at first because like my first day when I walked in, there was 2 dudes that were squatting 300-400 pounds. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I was like, okay, this is the deal. But that was during the competitive class, so of course all the studs
Okay.
were working out. But yeah, it can be intimidating regardless what you start, but at least you started, and now
Yeah.
look where you are.
Yeah.
So what sort of made you make that transition from, say, traditional strength training and cardio to the CrossFit scene, other than Jeff was hounding you and then you had some of the other ladies like Michelle, mainly Michelle,
Um,
that was trying to
yeah.
that was trying to convince you.
To come over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was bored over there for sure.
Mhm.
I had been paying for personal training for a really long time. I really I wasn't enjoying it anymore,
Mhm.
and so Jeff always made this sound so good. And I don't know. Yeah. The girls, I mean, CrossFit is amazing, right? So I guess I always had it in the back of my head that it was just way too intense for me,
Sure.
because you hear Jeremy, we met Jeremy. He used to park in front of our house and
Yeah.
walk his kids to school.
Oh yeah.
So that's how we met Jeremy Wineland, and he would tell us about it,
Mhm.
And I guess really too, what was huge was he talked about how much he loved working out with Michelle,
Yeah.
you know? And so that was something Jeff and I could do together, and there wasn't really anything holding me to that other gym,
Sure.
you know?
Um, I think that's what a lot of, okay, so I think there's some people that or transition from like global gyms or big box gyms to CrossFit just because of boredom,
Yeah.
and it is, and like we just did, not like a survey, but we asked people like, what brought you here, because I love to always revisit that, what is your reason for coming here, and a lot of people just said bored of the same routine, you'd
Hmm.
go in, you'd hit a chest, and it would just be chest flies, reverse flies, rows, and it's just repetitive, and you tend to hit a plateau, and unless you do find a good personal trainer, not just a personal trainer,
Right.
sometimes you never get past those.
Well, no. And then a lot of times you're by yourself. So
Mhm.
you've got your headphones on and you're just doing your own
Yeah,
thing. And
yeah, it's boring.
so that is boring.
Um,
I mean, once you come here and you see that you can get a good workout in,
yep.
one of our members stated she just recently did intro, and that was
Mhm.
one of her biggest reasons. Is it's like, our group would meet at the gym, and then we would just do
Talk.
nothing.
Yeah.
We'd talk, we'd drink coffee. She's like, I need something that's going to keep me in line,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know?
And to where you could still come and you can hang out with your friends and drink coffee, but when it's time to work, it's time to work,
Yeah.
And I think that's a nice thing with a group-led class is there's still that individualized approach, but we're all moving together. And some
Right.
people need to leave, especially the 5 a.m. people who need to be showered and ready to go by 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so you started and you became a huge fitness enthusiast, right? You really enjoy it. You love what it did for you, for your family, for your mental health. At what point did it become that you wanted to shift to becoming a yoga coach and now a CrossFit coach, and then get into nutrition and help people out with nutrition?
Um, okay. So this goes back to my roommate in college. I was going to school for nursing, and he was a personal trainer. And he had big muscles. And I don't know, it was just neat. Like it was something I've always wanted to do. I've lost 100 pounds. I've tried all these different things. I've done Zumba. I've done the weightlifting on my own. I've done spinning. I've
Yeah.
done body pump. I've done them all. And at the time, I just remember just almost being jealous, like, dang. And it's funny looking back on it now because it's like, man, I was so young. I could have just like literally did a detour
Yep.
and just switched.
Over here to CrossFit.
Well,
Just kidding.
right.
Just kidding.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
But even just changing from nursing to like nutrition or something, like something that I was really into.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed it. It's funny because there is some trauma there with food and growing up as a larger child.
Yeah.
But it's still so fascinating and I still love it. And so I guess when it really started was when I started the yoga. So I became a stay-at-home mom and I loved working out and I did my own thing. And then I decided to do the yoga teacher training for myself. I had no intentions on using it, like none whatsoever. And a friend of mine taught like mommy and me boot camps and that type of stuff.
Which is you working out with your kid, essentially, right?
Yes.
Cool.
Yep. At a place in Johnstown. And so she was like, would you ever want to do like I'm overwhelmed. I'm doing all these by myself. Would you mind throwing in some yoga? And I was like, okay. And it was, at first it was nervousing. I thought it was nervousing, but now it's like, it was such a passion of mine that now that it's like actually happening and coming full circle, it's so exciting. because I love it all. So I did the yoga. Um, I have a NASM background,
Mm-hmm.
but then I did that CrossFit because I fell in love with it and I like to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I want to see what this is all about, And I spent that weekend with them. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It is a really neat 48 hours.
Even you weren't even planning on coaching. I'm
No,
assuming you weren't planning on coaching at
no,
that point. And it is. I tell anybody, if anyone's like, yeah, I might want to get my level 1, I'm like, that's fine. I'm not going to say you're getting a job or like you have an opportunity to coach, but do it,
yeah,
like 100% do it. And I feel if even 50% of the people who hate CrossFit went and took the level 1, their minds will get changed instantly.
Yep.
Because they understand at the root what CrossFit is.
Right.
The only thing that falls short with CrossFit is we're allowed to run it the way that we want to. So
Right.
the methodology could be skewed. The way that we coach and approach things could be skewed. So like there's other areas that don't get to either are carried over.
Right.
But I agree.
The base of it, that foundation of CrossFit is really it's really solid.
Yep.
You're right. It's when you start to get that competitive, and I'm not calling anyone out. It's always good to kind of have someone next to you to make you want to do better,
Or your goals are different.
Right.
Kinsey's technically competitive, and
Right.
we all love Kinsey. Right?
Yes. Our little sugar loaf.
Our little sugar loaf. Love you, sugar loaf.
But yeah, so I think it is basically how the gyms are ran.
Mm-hmm.
You can turn people against each other.
Oh yeah, big time. No, you easily can.
I mean, you can definitely make it how you want it to be.
Well, it's just like anything. What's the culture of the place,
Right.
And the culture starts from the top down. And if I was a super highly competitive athlete, which there's plenty of gyms out there that their thing is they're competitive. They want people who are pushing boundaries, pushing their limits, and reaching those high levels of work capacity.
Right.
But like that's not what was important to us.
Right. And that's how sometimes people can get hurt.
Big time.
That's how I think CrossFit, unfortunately, gets a bad rap.
Sure.
Because you have that intensity. So, you hear about people puking. You hear about people throwing out their back trying to flip a tire. You hear about, but those are all things, technically mechanics, that should be addressed by you.
Yeah, exactly. That could be avoided.
It could be avoided.
And I see people who are very successful from CrossFit, and they got a lot more locked in than just the few, like than just coming in here and working out, you know? And I think that's where people misunderstand is, they might have got hurt deadlifting, but it wasn't that deadlift that messed them up. It might have been the poor sleep, their poor nutrition, their stress management. There's all these other components that got them hurt. It just so happened that was a straw that broke the camel's back, literally.
Well, and that's what kind of got me into the nutrition part of it, is it's really, you get into these diets and it's all about reducing those calories and unhealthy. So I think really what got me excited was you can fuel your body for these workouts. You can, it doesn't have to be like this crazy, workout that makes you leaving feeling like depleted. Exercise is supposed to make you feel rejuvenated, right? I mean, obviously we're breaking things down. Yeah. But when you leave here, you get a second wind and things like that,
Well, when you can't function at your job because you're too sore,
right.
You know what I mean? Or when you can't be like a parent because you're just wrecked, like that was a huge eye opener for me. And I think that goes along with kind of you in the nutrition side is like, this is supposed to promote your life,
right?
Not degrade it,
Right. Well, nutrition is basically the functioning of your body. I mean, if you think about it, it's that brain function, that gut microbiome, disease.
Yep.
I mean, it really goes down to all of it, So, yeah, nutrition is key.
Yep, big time. And so
that's neat.
So
Well,
that's neat.
You were asking, like, how did I get into the nutrition part of it? Well, that too, I had really, I think that came down to with Riker. I told you the other day, with Brecken. I tried for a long time to get pregnant with him, and I saw a nutritionist, and we really started breaking things down. And after, oh my gosh, like 2.5 years of trying, I did Whole30 for 3 months and I got pregnant. So I started in October of 2000, what would that be, 16 or 15? He'll be 5 this year.
Okay.
Um, and in December, I got pregnant.
That's crazy.
Yep.
And it comes as no surprise.
No, none
I know
whatsoever.
plenty of people and a numerous amount of people, and we're going to dive into that in the second part, which is probably going to take about an hour or so. But I know plenty of people, including my sister, that had, and once you get into birth control and kind of what that does to the body, like your body needs to reset,
Yep.
and your body's gonna, like we talked about, turn off the non-important organs, and unfortunately, like the reproductive side of things isn't
It's
really that
not,
important.
no,
You know what I mean? You
no.
need to breathe. You need to digest food. Like
Your heart.
your heart needs to
I
work.
mean,
Like
that's like huge.
yeah, like that's probably like
So
there's more
your
important things
brain
out there.
function.
Yep.
Yes.
So I mean, I think but just like most of us, we don't know where to start. And
Mm-hmm.
especially now with the internet, it's amazing because you can because there's so many things that you can do. Hey, Brett's here. Hello, Brett.
Hi, Brett.
Yeah, we're recording. We're recording live. Is it still good? Okay.
Maybe.
Thank you. Thank you. No, you're okay. Brett Sal just showed up, and we're actually, yeah. Anyway, so yeah. So I mean, I think it is. Like, I think it's important for you, and I think for anybody, and I think like there's that relatable factor as well. Like, you've been through it. I can't really speak on that. I shouldn't really speak on that to begin with, right? I shouldn't really tell women about their hormones and how their menstruation cycle is. Like, it's good to know and understand for being a fitness professional. However, like, I can't relate,
Right.
and I think that's what's so great about you is, you did lose the weight and you did have issues conceiving, and you've overcome all of those. So I think, like, not only do you have the textbook side, but you have the practical side, because
Yeah.
you've been there, and relatable as well. Food's very emotional for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people. And if
It's
you haven't,
social.
yeah,
I mean, it's all the things.
if you haven't struggled with it, it's really hard to relate,
Mm-hmm.
So, so with that with it being said, what, with, you starting to coach here and you doing nutrition, what is it that you're wanting to add to CrossFit Level? What is something that you're just wanting to give back, or to, let members know how you're here to help and how you want to help them?
Well, the CrossFit side of it, I mean, so much has changed
Mm-hmm.
in the last few years. And, it truly has changed who I am. Um, and now that my children are going back to school, like having a job here now,
Mm-hmm.
like it's been very I don't know what word to use here, but I feel blessed.
Yeah.
I feel grateful to get this opportunity because it is a passion of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably wouldn't have went looking for um, maybe a coaching job
Yeah.
somewhere else, just because you're walking into something you don't
Yep.
know. And but having been here, having known the members, knowing what we stand for, I think that's huge.
Yeah.
And I you strive to be better every day, and I feel like coming in here actually does that.
Yeah.
So I think as much as I want to be here for them, they're a huge part of who I am,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Totally.
Because you just, even as friends, as acquaintances, as whatever, but we all come in here to better ourselves, right? So they're
Be
good.
more.
Yeah. So they're a good, like, it's good community. And so, just all of them who've helped me over the years, you want to give back and
Sure.
help. Nutrition, we don't talk about that much here.
Mm-mm.
And it's been brought up a lot recently.
Yep.
That we don't.
Yeah.
Members have brought it up. There was a member who brought it up today. She's like, why don't we ever talk about it here? And I was like, not really sure.
Yeah.
It was just not something that was always in the forefront,
Yeah. Well, and I think too is like, yeah, we didn't do a good job, or I didn't do a good job of providing it. You know what I mean? And I think that's that relatability is I'm fine. You know what I
Well,
mean?
right.
And just because I'm fine doesn't mean that everybody else needs to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I think that's what I was super grateful for you to come on board and like, want to help people out and get more into the nutrition side of it. And we have some exciting things, coming up and just how we can help our members more. But no, I think that right there
Nutrition's
it's
huge.
huge.
If you want to come in here, fuel your workouts,
Hmm.
those mechanics, like all of it, it breaks down to that nutrition,
It does.
and unfortunately, a lot of us don't know a lot about it.
Nope.
There's a lot of very quick fixes out there, a lot of
Hmm.
quick fix diets, a lot of quick fix dinners,
There's
a
a
lot
lot of
of,
there's a lot of half naked influencers
yes,
who want to tell you how to eat because they have six pack abs and
well,
luscious
right,
legs.
right,
But it's not that
and
simple.
it's not, and that was the conversation we had this morning. It was two members, and the one member was like, how do you look like that? And she's like, I work hard.
Hmm.
I follow this type of diet, I do this. And and so I think it really, like talking about with like my sister, and my mom, you just think these people don't do
Yep.
anything because they just look like that,
Hmm.
so quick right away you're comparing,
Yep.
and that doesn't do anyone any good,
Nope.
so really it was nice to just kind of talk to them this morning
Hmm.
and tell them, about, because it's like, here's your 10 pounds, but what are you willing to give up for that 10
Sure.
pounds? Do you never want to eat pizza again?
Yep.
Do you, both conversations I had today about nutrition included beer. Well, if that's enjoyable, why are you giving it up?
Yep.
You know?
What
And the
else could you
one,
do?
right. Well, the other one said that. She goes, so here I am. I'm trying to find other, things instead of my beer, so I'm now drinking things I don't enjoy
Hmm.
just to save on calories.
Yeah.
So now
Now
what?
what? And for some people
So,
that works.
right.
Kinsey, for example, she's not much of a drinker, so
Right.
it's fine. Let's say she even was a drinker,
Right.
and if she had to give that up, she'd be like, okay, that's good because I don't feel the need to, or it's not
Right.
fueling me or it's not giving me what I need,
Right.
type thing.
But for someone who it does fuel them or
Mhm.
just gives them that moment of relaxation in the evening, have your one beer
Yep.
instead of drinking something else that isn't enjoyable.
Yep. Exactly.
So sometimes you have to weigh that out too.
Mhm.
I mean, really, what does 5 to 8 pounds mean to you?
Yep.
What does 10 pounds mean to you?
Big time.
You know?
No, that's awesome. No, I'm super excited to have you help us out and do more, and be more.
And be
Um, but yeah, well, that concludes part one,
okay.
just about who you are.
Yes, sir.
Stay tuned. We're going to do part two here in a second, and we're going to go over all the nutrition stuff.
All of it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome.